At 6:07. And thank you, everybody, for coming and calling in. I guess we can probably just jump on into everything so we can figure out where we're going. And the first list on the agenda is an update from Roundup.
So we had a meeting last Thursday, and under current restrictions, we decided to go forward with the ranch rodeo, or a ranch rodeo not, but we might go ahead and put that back in, but rodeo for sure. But we canceled the concert. So that announcement's gonna go out tomorrow. We're gonna check under the restrictions if we can hold the Neil Flynn Memorial roping or not. If we can segregate that area off and count it basically as a different area so we can have 250 people there. And we have a meeting that Jessica Bogardus is facilitating with a gal from the governor's office and OLCC and OSHA to find out what the current restrictions are, what we have to adhere to, and so that we can get things in place to follow suit with that.
So you're going forward with the pro rodeo?
With the pro rodeo.
And what days?
Well, we might increase it. We're debating, but probably a 3-day perf, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Contestant turnout should be large, and so we're gonna have to add an extra perf to accommodate that. Ranch rodeo would be Friday. Talk to the horse show people for Thursday. They're planning on doing that with the kids' calf branding as well. And communicating to all those people what our restrictions will be as we learn it, so they know how to tailor their different events to match those restrictions.
So on the ranch rodeo, is that your guys's or is that completely?
That is through us.
That's through you, so you're,
Everything's through us.
okay,
Yep.
perfect.
I had another thought and I forgot it. I think that's pretty much everything, isn't it?
I think so. I mean, it's just going to be a matter of where we end up.
Oh, I know what it was. So if restrictions tighten up and it's not going to be feasible, with PRCA, we have until the 12th of August to cancel.
That was gonna be my question.
Yes. And so right before that, we're going to have another meeting. We're going to have a series of meetings leading into this, working through it. But we're going to have a meeting before the 12th to figure out if we can continue forward. If everything stays as they are now, we'll be fine. So, yeah, that meeting with everybody from the government is supposed to be this week. We're waiting to hear back on a time.
And you figured out how to run the grandstands into sections?
Right now,
Under these current restrictions, we can't. That's considered one venue, one event. So it's 250 people. We can social distance that. It's not a problem. We can have 250 people on the contestant side. And so under current restrictions now, it's going to hurt as far as ticket sales, but it's very easily manageable. Carol is working with OLCC on how to set up what our beer sales will look like. It'll be reduced back, but he's working with them so that all our beer sales, any drinking, beer gardens, or anything like that will be in compliance with the governor.
So, as a fair board, we need to capitalize or be a part of this with our food side of it and that side of it. Secondhand information, I think I'm correct on this, is your OLCC will need more room than they have now to be able to operate and follow the guidelines, I believe. Is that true?
Yes, and I need to communicate with Carol to see what his plan looks like on what the footprint on the grounds is needing to be, how we need to organize things around there. And that's all going to be kind of in Carol's court for him to organize that, or let us know what that needs
so
to
it
be.
sounded like Carol has been working with OLCC, for a while now on putting together basically
A plan.
a plan, to how they manage and how they do everything with dealing with the regulations. So it sounds like he's got a kind of a plan in place. Just going to be a logistics of how they lay it out.
Well, and we've got to be flexible over here at the fair side of it. Our challenge for vendors is we only have the one area for power because the vendors need the power for their things. If we can get vendors to come, more power than we can get. So as you're trying to reconfigure distance and everything, you got to take that into consideration. We can't like move all of our vendors way out, nor do you want us to, but
Right.
we got to try to figure that out.
We need to leave them along the exhibit buildings there mainly so they can plug into power.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think with no livestock on there, it kind of opens up the whole area for distancing. So
Yes.
I don't think it's a big problem at all.
Right.
I think at this point, I have maybe 4 or 5 vendors that are still willing to come. When Thule canceled, a lot of them canceled.
And I think that's going to be
I think that would be plenty, actually.
probably a little bit too much. You don't want to have too many, otherwise
No, because you want them to
their
make
sales
money.
are going to be down. We're only going to have
That's right.
250 people there.
Well,
And so-
250 plus, you have 250 on each side,
But we're not going to be able to commingle.
that's true.
No, but they can go in and out of different areas. I mean,
Right.
Right.
But as far as everybody shows over coming in and having a party and eating and drinking, they're not going to be able to commingle. And we're going to have to keep that distancing. So you don't want to have too many food vendors there. We're going to have a food vendor for Carol with his liquor license. And so,
And we may have to have, and that'll be logistics of figuring out, it depending on how Carol splits that up, because there was talk about him maybe doing a bar more out where the contestants are going to be more by the rodeo ground, maybe putting one to that side, but it might take food. If we're splitting that between two, the spectators and contestants, it may take us food. I mean, obviously.
and we might be able to utilize VFW for that
The VFW can't do it this year.
at all.
So we might be able to utilize the
They
power.
flat out
that's
told
out
us
there.
they cannot do anything for any of our shows this year.
but
I
you know,
tried
to
Junior
do
might
that.
be able to. Junior got his kitchen up and running and he does hamburgers, hot dogs, chili dogs, blah, blah, blah.
We
And
could
he
probably
was
at least
kind of
utilize
willing
that
to do
power
it off and
that
on.
the VFW has utilized in the past.
We utilize that space for Carol.
We've just got to be creative on how we do it this year. There's nothing.
We'll just be
normal.
creative and communicate it between us and the fair board
Yep.
on what that footprint will look like and, but I wouldn't get too many food vendors lined up. I think probably 3
I
would
don't
be
think there's
max.
gonna be too many.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, that are willing to come.
Well,
Donna will be one.
Given one is the bread wagon, she'll
Yeah.
be here.
so what's
Right.
so there's nothing to hold anybody there during the off rodeo time. So give us an idea of what you think you need food vendors open for. You probably don't know now.
We don't
Is
know
your
our rodeo
be a night
times.
Rodeo, day rodeo, what are they gonna be?
We're wanting to shoot for evening rodeos Saturday and depending on what Derby does, Sunday. Because we feel our attendance will be greater in the evening. But it could be too cold.
Could be too cold.
And so we don't want to go too late, but try to hit a later afternoon, early evening.
Sell more whiskey when it's cold?
Yeah. But that is a work in progress to figure out how we're
Okay.
going to tailor it
So
to
that's
the
something
weekend.
we will need, Todd, to be able to help. So the vendors know, there's no reason for them sitting there with their cookers going for
Right.
a certain amount of time. So, I guess that would put the onus on the fair board to be able to control the number of people that's coming in on the food vendor side, because we're going to have locals want to go down there and have lunch.
Mm-hmm.
So we're only allowed 250. So we need to figure out how that's going to work.
Yeah.
And how it, if you have 250, is it limited to that period? And then we're having to turn away people that want to come down and get fair food.
Right.
So there's going to be some challenges of trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
And we'll also have, with the rodeo, depending on what our contestant, which we're not gonna know for sure on that until late, but if the contestant turnout is as high as we think it could be, we may end up also having slack performances both Saturday and Sunday, as opposed to in the past, we've only had it on Sunday. So we could end up with 2 days of slack performances, which we can open up to 250 people to come in to watch that also. So that could also, increase having foot traffic down there, in the mornings and then again for a regular rodeo in the evening. But we're not gonna know that until we know how many contestants we have. There will be slack on Monday, for sure, we know that, I think.
We're gonna have issues with parking. Do they have to be distanced so far apart?
Yeah, all parking is 6 feet apart, even parking is, but, we haven't heard back from the governor's office on if we can have just one whole big parking thing or if we have to divide it all up. That hasn't been,
I think we'll be in pretty good shape with the parking though. The PRCA guys, the contestants, obviously we can keep them on their own, and then, the spectators, we've got lots of room to park, so however we need to, if we have to section off parking lots, I think we can do that.
I think so too.
Are you guys gonna have security to be able to control the number of people and regulate the number of people?
Matt Frank's company.
So we would be, as far as the fair board goes, a fool if we didn't utilize that also.
Correct.
So there's one security that takes care of, because there's gonna be people upset that they're not gonna be able to come in.
Yeah.
I guarantee you.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be challenging for any one of us, the fair board or Roundup Association, try to tell local people you're not able to come in.
Right.
So, I would like to know what he would charge to do security for, the amount of people coming into the food court also.
You guys should have his contact. You've been working with him on the parking, haven't you, on the fair board side?
We've been,
Yeah, I've got Matt's.
we've been working with Dustin, and
Yeah.
he's our lead person on it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's going to create some challenges,
Right.
both sides, so.
When the rodeo is like going, you guys are gonna be in, right? You're 250, or once they go in the gates, they're pretty much gonna be in the gates.
Unless they come out for a corn dog, but yeah.
But, you could have other people come to fair food as long as there's not more than.
I don't, in reality, I don't think there's gonna be flowing through there could probably be 250, but I don't think there's gonna be much more than that at any one given time. I just don't.
People are wanting something to do. I think
Yeah.
you may be surprised. And this is a pro rodeo. So what if there was one entry and it was up at the front by the fair office all the way there at that gate, and that's where people came in, and that's where security is. 250 people get to come in, they walk right through the food court, right back to the Roundup, and back out.
If you can set up a perimeter fence, that would work. But how are you gonna partition that off? And
Well, I think
the expense that you're gonna go through to do that, I think, our fairgrounds isn't really set up like
I think
other
with that
fairgrounds to do that.
4-H and FFA kids, because the barns on that side are sealed. And through your exhibit buildings, if your gate is right there at the front, like where the booth is at, coming in there, you'd be sealed off there. We just have between the exhibit buildings and the Roundup Museum like we always have. But you could make the food courts clear to the re-ride tent and all that one area and just take tickets at that first gate right there.
Unless, I just want to throw this out there because of being back by like where we wash the steers and stuff, people come in through that, I don't know if it's a trailer park or whatever, people are walking through there all the time. That fence is this high. And so yeah, that gate up by the scales is locked. You can lock that easy, but it's something you guys would have to figure out how to fence that off.
It's not possible to fence.
I don't think so either.
fence it.
Yeah.
But the amount of people, it blows me away every year, the amount of people that walk in when kids are trying to wash their animals and stuff, and they just walk right in. So-
I think on the governor's side of it, if we can show a plan and we can show our monitoring and if 50 people slip in and now we got 300, try to punish us for that.
Yeah.
We're doing our best.
And I agree, because there's no way you're ever going to be able to lock down an entire facility. It's just not going to work. So
Right.
I agree. I think that if you can just show the
One
plan.
entry with stops the walk-in the best we can.
Yep.
I commend the Roundup for reaching out to, I believe we reached out to the governor's office, reaching out to OSHA, OLCC through Carol. And you're exactly right. Todd, if we put the plan, you guys put the plan, we're part of the plan in place, we can only control so much, but the plan will show that we're implementing by the guidelines. That's what we have to do.
The best we can
Yeah.
handle it.
If we do it opposite, like some are trying to do, the hell with it, we're just going to do it. I just showed Ronnie one of the fines for, I think it's Glamour, boutiques was $18,000. Those are fines. So getting in front of it, doing it correctly, that protects everybody as best we can. So commend you guys for reaching out that way.
So it's not gonna be easy, but
No. But Stacy was right, there's gonna be a certain number of people just.
And we know that. They're gonna come in from the backside, PRCA parking too, and
Yep.
we'll segregate it best we can.
So,
And you have all the foot traffic that just walks in.
Yeah. Well, that's what it would be, walking in from that side that
But I
you
mean,
can't
from,
monitor.
they even walk in from the front.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They come across the street and just walk on
they
in.
park over in my store parking lot, did not pay $4 for parking, for God's sake,
Yeah.
to walk in.
You stand out there and sell parking in your parking lot. For $3.
Yeah, so on the Fair Board side, we planned on, after the meeting tonight, hopefully we all would be able to file a joint statement. And so I think that's where we need to be, but I don't want to get there until we get through the agenda so we can hear from everybody else that's on there. I'd like to add to the agenda desert cruisers. Because they're on anyways. Chair, I don't have no more
Okay.
questions of the Roundup right now.
Any other information you can offer us from Roundup?
Not at this time.
Okay. Sales committee?
Clayton's on the phone. He's our chairman.
And our vice chair was at our last meeting and he's on the phone too.
Okay, can I have one of the sales committee folks that are on the phone speak to what they plan?
I wasn't at the last meeting with the Clayton, I'm gonna have to go kind of go over it.
I'm on the phone to Clayton.
Oh, go for it. So I don't know, we met last weekend, we met for almost 3 hours. We came to the conclusion we wanna have a live video sale. And we want an in-person sale at the Fairgrounds on Saturday. There's a lot of details that need to be worked out. What we're looking at is no kids, due to the guidelines from 4-H and FFA, we're unable to have children present. But we would like to have something for the buyers where they could come in person, bid. If they were uncomfortable, they would also have the option of the internet or a phone bid. Eric Doherty showed up to the meeting, gave us some options, and like I said, we're going to meet again tomorrow in Silver Lake at the fire hall, and we're going to iron out some plans. We're thinking, off Eric's numbers, we're thinking maybe 40 to 50 buyers at most, and it would only be buyers only allowed in that area, and we're talking about an outdoor venue, which would be in the area where the livestock usually show. So I think we could strategically place stands and abide by the regulations. That's kind of tentatively what we're planning, but we need to meet one more time before we can iron out more details.
Would you guys start at your normal time or would you start earlier for any technical problems? I'm just thinking for trying to get people in and out of the rodeo and keeping the distancing out.
We haven't discussed, we did, tentatively the normal time. This is new to all of us, and so that's probably a good suggestion. And the other thing we haven't really discussed is how we could possibly have a buyer's lunch as well. But yeah, that's definitely something we need to discuss as far as the time and technical difficulties. But before we can really do, we have to commit to Eric and meet again.
So, I think, this is Brad Winters, one of the things that you touched on there that's really important to try to keep the numbers appropriate is the sale should be at an off time of what the rodeo is. To have that buffer because we have to stay at the 250. But I would assume it'd be best if it complements the rodeo so we capture people coming and going. I don't know how to do that, but
Normally, we start the sale at 1, and we're gonna have a lot less animals this time, cause a lot of
It's
the
not gonna take nearly
participants
the
have sold
time.
them. And they're not, it's
Some of
gonna,
my kids have.
they're not gonna be so many, but we'll go to about 4 o'clock. On a
On a
normal.
normal year,
On a
and that's
normal
with
year.
having to
I
bring your
think we're gonna
animals
be
in
an
and
hour or more
everything.
shorter.
This time we're gonna have Slideshow, and you're not gonna have to worry about the live animals coming through or
Doing the walking
the parade
around.
of colors or all of that extra time. That's something that we could set our time easily to
Yeah.
work with these guys.
so you just touched on something I never captured, Stacy, thank you. When you said in person, that's in person for the buyers.
For the buyers.
Just for the
No-
buyers.
No animals
No
on site?
animals.
No animals are coming. We're gonna do it just think about like a bull sale.
Oh, okay.
Just,
That-
we're gonna put up some
Now
projection
logistics are
screens,
making
you're gonna
much
have a
better
picture
sense
of your
now.
kid and your animal. And so that's all stuff that we're gonna have in ahead of time, it's basically a slideshow. And just run through and do it that way, so no kids are gonna be present, no animals are gonna be there. We have discussed, we aren't really sure how we're gonna run the shipping aspect of it, but for the sale itself, there won't be kids and animals present.
Well, one thing for the shipping that we did for sure decide is they come, they unload it, they're gone. No hanging around. You're there, and we can use that back side for that and get them in and out without really creating the numbers problem. Maybe 15, 20 people at a time would be the number we would have.
But my mind was thinking wrong, it's much more doable now. I
Yeah,
thought you
there's
was bringing the animals.
the numbers, you're not gonna have the numbers that you would have at a regular sale.
And I would think that I don't know where we'll end up, but I think we're probably looking at 6 or 6:30 on a rodeo, maybe Saturday evening, so I think there's probably time.
Yeah.
If you're looking at starting at 1, you're probably gonna be done by 3 or 3:30.
Right.
You're gonna have enough of a
I
gap
would think,
between the end of
yeah.
the sale and the start of the rodeo to get those people out and then get,
Right,
we might just have to designate the gates won't open until 5 or whatever for rodeo.
Trent, what time's the Derby usually start?
It's usually at 7.
Okay.
Sounds great,
we're trying,
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Really.
That was a
Thank
fun
you,
3-hour
guys.
meeting.
long 3-hour meeting.
Which is the thing, I guess to tell you guys, I went to the sale committee meeting with these guys and they voted me in as their
Yeah.
new.
That's what happens when you
Yeah,
show up.
I got sucked in one more thing on that,
You don't go to their meetings because you always end up with something.
but I also did, in the meeting, I also suggested to the sale committee that we also have that lawn area. If we have, the need obviously for an outdoor venue, but with Eric's setup, they have all their stuff fairly well self-contained on that trailer that they can pull in, maybe put a tent outside. If we don't have anything else going on that lawn, it'd be a good venue for their auction to go on, without, it just gives us more space, I guess, to do it. So if they have to use that.
It'd be totally out of the way if you're slap round line.
Right.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
It
thinking.
might- that
would
might
be a
actually
total
be something
different
we
event,
would look
total different
into.
area. You could probably increase your buyer number doing it that way.
we probably could, or at least the option, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that parking lot that's normally the 4-H FFA parking lot could be designated just for the sale on
Yeah.
that date, or you don't have any other stuff going in and out, because we can utilize the parking on the other side.
On the other
It's normally
side.
our parking, and then the PRCA and the Roundup people can park where the PRCA guys are designated to, so.
You might think I'm crazy, but I would go off venue, off time, and I'd use the rewrite room at whatever level it is open, and it was for the buyers only, and there was, utilize rewrite room, people can sit around and bid and have a beverage.
We
might
have
even-
discussed
I might
that
even buy
many
something
times
about that.
before, that we would really like to look into that in future years.
Well, if the rodeo, say the rodeo's gonna be an evening rodeo on Saturday, and if it's really hot at noon on Saturday,
Or raining.
Yeah.
or if it's raining, either
No,
Coors
weather
Light
doesn't
or McAllen's, one or the other.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, that's something for you guys to consider. Also,
We probably have to,
all this is.
So something that we might run into with the tents, I'm not sure, with extension, cause we're trying to work with extension and the, FFA advisors and not get anybody in trouble or
Right.
anything like that, but I don't know if those tents would make it nearly indoor, as closed off as it is, so that's something that we're having to be really careful with for this kid event.
For
Even
our
though the
venue,
kids
we'll
aren't
probably
there.
have to have it more open than
Yeah.
normal. But with OSU, could you have alcohol, have it in a bar type
Ooh.
setting?
but we're not having
There you
kids.
Yeah, there's no.
There's
kids.
no
I know
kids.
there's no kids, but still the
That's
affiliation.
something we'd have to definitely look into before we,
Just trying to,
well, Jamie's on the phone, she'd be able to answer that.
can you answer that question, Jeannie?
Works were good for Western lifestyle. It really does.
There's a reason they sell alcohol in sales.
Well, exactly, that's what we're thinking.
So if whoever's on the phone, if you could mute except for who's talking, because it's breaking up on this end.
Brad, I can answer that.
Okay,
So this is Jamie. So the Klamath County sale is hosted by Rotary, and they are able to have alcohol. It's a little bit different when you don't have children, and it's not actually either OSU Extension for Youth Development or FSA putting on the event. It's a gray area, so it could be explored. But I really would have to look at what FSA compliances as well.
Well, if you guys.
Even if it's put on by the sales committee?
Well, so this is something that we ran into at our last meeting with the name of our committee.
And I think Jamie clarified that, and the sales committee is not,
It's not,
it's
a
not
separate
4-H
entity.
or FFA.
I've been
Cause we
saying,
ran into that with it,
But-
having 4-H and FFA in its name,
The
so.
only
But
thing
if we're
would be is
separate
that
entity,
neither Chad nor I can participate.
Oh, right.
so anyways, you guys may have another 3 or 4 hour meeting, so you'll make a decision. It was just a
And a
small
couple hour drive
suggestion.
on
well,
top
I
of
like
it.
it, I like the suggestion, that's.
I loved how Stacy just called a vote.
If you guys wanna look into it, I can talk to Carol about how we
Yeah.
could time it and what he thought about it.
You don't mind.
Because if he doesn't wanna do it, we're not doing it,
Right,
so
right.
we have to.
But I
move
think
to
you'd
something else.
entertain the idea to try to increase sales over the
Yeah,
weekend, so.
But that's where we're at. So basically, what would we end up calling it at the end?
A live virtual
sale, because we were having to cover the phone and online
That's
options.
the way that
so.
you got me confused.
I was very confused at the end. I'm like, wait, live virtual?
So-
Live wires virtual.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
think,
exactly.
I think I can probably hear the same thing from you guys I did from the Roundup is depending on if other orders come down and everything, you guys have to have a secondary plan of being able to make it happen. And I'm sure you guys are there on that.
We've looked into, at this point, I mean, we really don't want to, but private venue, private auction, kids would bring their own animals, not 4-H and FFA affiliated. We don't want to do that. We want to stay with our organizations, but it's something we've looked at. And then I even asked Dustin last week to send me the regulations or whatever to use the fairgrounds, just so I could start looking over for a plan. Okay, we need this many people here. We need this many people here. We need to be thinking about X, Y, Z, whatever. So we're trying.
Okay, excellent.
There is also the option of just going to a strict virtual one,
Mhm.
which would be pretty seamless, really,
I would think.
because of the way that our fair is. So if like it rains or something like that. But obviously we probably wouldn't know that until the day before,
Let's
right?
not start that argument
Or
again.
the day of.
5 minutes before it starts.
Sometimes you never know about the fair.
So would you use the same video from the kids for the judging of the animals for the sale?
We haven't quite covered that yet.
There was some talk that they didn't know if they could get it to go, but I would like to do that.
That would be the easiest. That would be ideal. But the video is 90 seconds, right?
It depends on what
But
we set it up to be. It could be anywhere between 60 and 90 seconds, and it depends on the species. Because 90 seconds of a rabbit More than what you need. But I would imagine what you would use would be more like just the buyer picture.
Yeah.
Exactly, and
Yeah,
that's,
that's what.
we're gonna have to look into compatibility, but the sales that I've looked into that have done this, Tehama County in California is one that I looked at. They just used a picture of basically, a buyer picture with their animal and with the child. So.
Very good.
All right, we're up to the 4-H update. Genie and Jamie, can you give us what your thoughts are there? Somebody?
They're muted.
I'm gonna defer to Jamie.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Jeannie. So our update is the same as our last update, is the fact that we've decided to, with consultation with FFA, move our livestock judging virtually. Jeannie and Melissa formed a virtual committee, but I guess they're meeting virtually and they're discussing how to move forward virtually. And they brought it to the committee to see if they would also like to allow static participants to move virtually, since subsequently based on decisions made by open class. And so they're going to offer that opportunity to you too. So let's say if they knit something or crocheted an item or taken pictures, photography pictures, to have those judged remotely as well. We don't know what participation will really look like because of clubs not really meeting very much pre-COVID, and then when they can start meeting before fair, there won't be a lot of time in between. We don't anticipate a lot of projects being entered there, but we are moving forward in the process, but probably most of it will be based around dates and deadlines of our livestock project.
Okay. Christy, is FFA the same way then?
Yeah.
Okay,
Pretty much the same way. Mm-hmm.
alrighty.
Yeah, Chad and I are both on that committee.
Okay, sounds good. All right, Fairgrounds update. You wanna hit on it? You want me to hit on it? You want Brad to hit on it?
Well, you might want to tell them what we did with the gift certificates.
Okay, for 4-H and FFA, we decided we will not do premiums this year. But to be fair to everybody, each child that shows a project, be it livestock or static, they will get a $10 gift certificate to some place that they can use in the area where they live. They'd only get one gift certificate even if they've got 10 exhibits. But we agreed to that so that the children would be getting something for their efforts besides just a ribbon.
And it's only for market animals.
No.
No, it was breeding
It was
also.
Breeding breeding market, but only one per person. Per
Right.
child. That's right, okay, thank you.
And static. They
And
can-
static,
Yeah.
As long as they completed a project.
as long as they've completed a project.
And we felt that it's not a lot, $10 each, but at least we could distribute do our part towards some businesses that, things are tough for everybody. So, we haven't contacted businesses yet, to my knowledge, but anyways,
Oh. Nope, we haven't.
yeah, so. Anyways, that meeting went on for a while too.
Yes, it did.
Well, in all fairness, you guys spent about 20 minutes looking for premiums from your past.
Obviously, with waiting on a lot of the information for tonight, so that we're able to adjust. One of the things I see that we really have to adjust to and partner with you guys on is trying to have some vendors out there for this rodeo, and it's 4 days of it. That's more than what I expected, to be perfectly honest with you. I didn't know I figured you guys might get a couple days in, but it's 4 days. I gotta go back to my thought, it just keeps coming back to my mind, is one entry might be the only way that you control the 250. And I don't know if that's doable or not. I think it'd be put up the gates in between the exhibit buildings and everything, and then close other gate, Westernville, if people want to walk through or whatever, but try to do that. At the same time, we gotta be considerate of ingress and regress for fire and ambulance and that stuff, so we gotta maybe have, and that's doable, just having people that have to manage that.
What about dirty?
We'll get to them.
Oh, we're getting to that.
We'll get to
Okay.
them.
Okay.
So that's where my mind keeps coming back as a fair board, is we're trying to figure out our organization, how we can be a positive player in there also. So,
Well, I'm kind of thinking about all the logistics of it, like the restroom cleaning and the trash and those parts of it, and the parking. We haven't talked about it as a board, but I can't imagine too much parking. I don't know.
but parking, in my opinion, is
Yeah, it
great.
should be.
Parking is parking.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was
We,
thinking.
And
I mean,
the whole logistics too is the porta potties are gonna be a big part of
Yeah,
what we do. I mean, I don't know how many people they're safe per unit or anything like that. But they're supposed to be all spread out all over, aren't they? And
well, there has to be parking and restrooms for 250. If there's only 250, we're covered.
Yeah.
There'll be a few extra blue rooms, but they're not have to buy it or rent a whole bunch more. And then our bathrooms, so if we're able to contain 250, you have to have restrooms and parking. And so
I don't think it's
if
gonna
we're
be
trying
too
to-
hard to manage. And
Yeah,
those restroom cleanings, they're gonna be cleaned before the rodeo, and they'll be cleaned after the rodeo. And actually probably just after the rodeo, because there's not gonna be anybody in there. Somebody will go through, glance it, maybe spray some bleach to meet the requirements of COVID, and then that's it. I mean, it's gonna be pretty minimal. Rodeo's over, maybe have a couple drinks and a beer or some food, and then you're gonna be out of there. There's nothing to keep people around there. And that's what we want.
But we have to contract somebody to do that cleaning.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's the challenge.
Right.
That side of it. Plus, you actually have to be cleaning them while all events are going on too, to be in compliance. You have to sanitize every hour, is that what it is?
it says you're supposed to. I do it every morning.
I've
And
kind of
then I
read
have
that
a
a couple
sign up
different
saying
ways.
It's self
Okay.
sanitize.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, these are not cleaned on an hourly basis.
There's kind of some
Self-sanitize.
loopholes there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and I think I was talking to, who was I talking to? I don't remember. Anyway, but Judy. But we were talking about putting not necessarily the hand washing stations but getting the sanitizer dispensers.
Yeah.
Cause they're for one a lot cheaper, but you can also move them wherever you need them and have them, which would meet a lot of that compliance.
And we gotta remember, a rodeo's 2 hours.
Yeah.
Maybe 2.5. And so it's not like we're going all day without cleaning those restrooms. If they're cleaned before, that's fine.
So
know.
then when you guys get some times nailed down, that's probably what I need in order to come up with a cleaner and a contract.
Yes.
Well, I would say that we should, whoever it is, or how we do it, we should be able to mold them together, garbage and cleaning both. So they're going to pick up the garbage.
Well, if we find somebody that will do both.
Well, I mean,
We have a hard time finding them.
we do, but why would we have two
Well, no,
separate
I get it,
contracts?
There's not gonna be enough work for 2
Yeah.
different
No, I
individuals. We
wouldn't
need to
think
find
so.
that one person.
So,
Why don't we hit on desert cruisers before we get into any more of these logistics?
Okay.
Trent, are you still on there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
So, after a lot of debate with our board members, talking with Dustin about the 250 in total without being able to break the grandstands down into 3 groups, we came to the decision that we were going to cancel the demolition derby for this year. It's a big event. We didn't really think it's fair to our fans, to limit it to 250 folks, or to the drivers, that build cars to come on over here and put the show on for everybody. So, it was a unanimous vote by all the board members. We looked at options. There's not really a logistical way to have a derby Friday and Saturday and Sunday
like the rodeo, because we rely on a lot of log trucks and some other folks to make that part happen. So as of now, we will cancel the derby, and then, we'll get something out on social media. I don't know if it's gonna be in the paper, but, we'll get something out on our end.
The press is sitting here, so you nailed it. Yes, it will be in the paper.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Unless there's any questions for us, that's kind of our final decision.
Hey Trent?
Yeah.
We're looking for somebody to do the restrooms and garbage.
You get a free parking pass.
I'll buy you a corn dog.
I want to take our time slot, we want the ticket.
You keep talking, you'll have a deal.
That's all we've got. There's no questions.
Anybody else have questions? I think you answered our questions. Thank you. All right, the bottom line, it looks like we will be having Roundup. The sales committee is still working on how the sale is going to happen. 4-H and FFA, everything will be virtual. And there will be no actual fair. We cannot work out the logistics to keep people separated in the buildings and keep people apart and everything to have a fair.
The inside venue won't
The
allow.
inside venue just won't allow it to happen.
Especially now it's down to 10, so.
Right.
Inside.
So that's the bottom line on that. And it looks like we have some logistics to work out as far as restrooms, garbage, food vendors. You've got your side with Carol and his things, and you're gonna have to figure out your parking spacing on your PRCA side.
Yeah, and I think unmanned parking with signs falls under the guidelines. Is that right,
Yes.
Ronnie?
Yes.
And so if we have unmanned parking, like where you guys are doing free parking, if we just have signs that state what the guidelines are when they pull in, we're off the hook.
Yeah.
And then we'll have somebody man the gate when they walk from PRCA into the inner track area for the contestants.
And you will work out, or you're gonna try to figure out something for food for the people coming from the PRCA side? In the inner
I'll talk to Carol
segment?
because that's gonna fall under his OLCC if we have to have food over there.
Okay.
If he's covered just by the person on the north side of the fence, that might open up a food vendor area, on
Well,
that
if we
side.
have one
And-
entry, they can walk the full distance.
No, inside the track.
Oh,
Yeah.
inside there. Trying to figure all kinds of things out. I wonder what vendors we get if they could offer curbside out at the highway so other people could have fair food. Or even have a runner that gets it back to you guys or whatever. Just trying.
Talk to your vendors. I mean, they can
Yeah.
get as creative as they want
Yeah,
to
just
sell
trying
their
to-
stuff and you guys get a
Yeah.
cut of it.
And if,
But put it on them.
if Carol, well, I think, I'm almost positive Carol's gonna need to have food in his
Yeah.
area.
Yes.
And so, but if he does, I can work with one of these
Yeah.
vendors, like probably SoFab. SoFab is still interested in coming.
That's
think
who
the
we've
biggest
been, that's who we've been
Yeah.
contracting with.
I think the biggest thing with Carol is gonna be is if we have the 250 on the grandstand side
Right.
and out there, and if we have the 250 on the spectator side, if Carol sets up a second bar, basically to serve that side, we're gonna have to have
Food there.
two
Yeah.
different food vendors, because
Right.
we're not gonna be able to let people go between
Right.
the two areas.
If we can get them, we'll make it happen.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah, I think that's.
Stacy had a question.
That drive-through for vendors might be something to pitch to Knights of Columbus too, because I know that Casey Burgers is basically their only fundraiser for the entire
They
year,
sold
and this
their
is gonna.
trailer.
Oh, I didn't know that because I was talking to somebody who's a part of it last week, and
Traumatic.
I was.
According to
traumatic.
Mike.
I'm kind of freaking out now.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
Well, never
that was
mind.
in the paper, right?
I believe this person who's running the spot with two T's. Bought the old KC Burger stand, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, it was one of the two that were there.
We'll scratch that then.
Do
One
we
other
have
thing
the
that,
power for SoFab to run out in the middle of where VFW usually is?
Yeah, the power's still there, right?
Is that the
W
higher-
uses.
Is that the higher,
Uh,
or is that just
I
a
think it is,
regular?
I think it is a 50, yeah.
You guys hear me?
Yes?
This is Teresa.
Hi, Teresa.
Hi, I'm listening. The Tracy didn't sell their trailer, they did a new they got rid of the old one and got a new one.
Ah, okay.
There you go. So that would be something to look into, because we all want our Casey burger.
That is very
Really?
relating to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and drink.
Let's hyperventilate there.
Yeah.
One thing I'm
I will
assuming
call
is
them.
not gonna happen is the 4-H food booth.
No,
That's,
no, Jamie told me that quite a while
Yeah,
ago,
I
that it
just-
wasn't gonna happen.
makes.
Well, you know, we had issues with that last year, 4-H did, because they had to bring somebody from Klamath, I think, over to run it, and it wasn't open all that much.
I know,
Yeah.
So
it's kinda aggravating.
OLCC and Carol, is he only going to operate the time of the rodeo? Is he going to have time afterwards? What is that? And that will help us with,
We don't know that yet. Graham is our contact with Carol,
okay?
and he said that Carol is still currently working on it, on getting approval, how it's gonna look. And so I'm gonna call Scott tomorrow.
Okay,
To
so
try
we
to
need
figure
that for our vendors because
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
no,
times.
I'm gonna try to get a footprint, what we need to look like, so that you guys can tailor what you guys can maximize. I'm gonna ask Carol, because Carol does this. Hey Carol, this is how many people we're gonna have? How many food vendors do we need to have? And he's gonna be able to nail it on the head, so that your food vendors aren't driving over for
Right.
50% of their sales.
Is it possible for a vendor to use the 4-H, the kitchen,
They
the
would have to
Fairgrounds
rent
kitchen?
it.
I mean, if they wanted to
Um,
rent that instead of bringing in their own trailer?
Yeah, they could. Yeah, they could.
Yeah, why not?
Except then we would have the issue with controlling the number of people coming through the door there, which is only one in one.
Well, the restaurants and all that, they have the guidelines and they have to follow the guidelines.
Yep, they have to go like this in the door,
Yeah.
And the
until they
6
sit
foot,
at the table, and then they can take it off.
yeah, and the 6 foot distancing thing, there's supposed to be marks on the floor,
Yeah.
keep you behind them.
I just feel like it's easier
So
from a
it'd be like
trailer
3
than it
people
would
at
be
a
in
time
there.
in the
Yeah,
building.
yeah.
It's easier to serve from the trailer, because
Yeah.
they can keep it clean.
Yeah.
So I have one question. So, if we have the re-ride room going and then there's the sale, are the people that, like, the sale gets out at 4 o'clock, can those people go to the re-ride room when we've got 250 and 250?
If they have a rodeo ticket, I would say yes.
Only if they have a rodeo ticket.
Because they're gonna have to be counted through their
Sure,
ticketing system.
Sure, so so that would be, I think that's just something important for us to know
So-
when we're planning tomorrow night.
So I think
That's a good,
we're not segmenting anything out. It's 250 max period. Are you, except for the contestants, that's only.
Well, if
70.
you're, there again, we'll have to see what Carol's idea is, but if you're in the rodeo, you have to have access to that re-ride room. So how are we gonna have things segregated out on where we can have people?
Well, trying to get there. Because I thought you guys talked, you weren't going to have segments. When 250 people come, and your contestants were separate.
Correct, but then you were thinking if we could maybe make a different area for food.
Well, no, I'm just wondering because of, their question is, and you answered it the way I thought you would, is if they have a ticket, they're allowed. But if they don't, after the sale, they would have to leave.
So people that don't go to the rodeo can't go to the re-ride. Because I think there, in my view, there are people that don't go to the rodeo that slam on the re-ride room for the weekend.
But the re-ride room's gonna be different. I mean,
Yeah, oh, I'm sure it
yeah.
will.
And-
Yeah,
and
I'm
so
sure it will.
We don't know. What Carol has in his plan is gonna dictate all that, and he's working on it, we need to find out.
Okay.
So I guess with all this, and I'm thinking way outside the box here probably, but if we're gonna get creative with this whole deal, and if Carol is going to, and we could incorporate a bar into sale out there, if you use the lawn area and it becomes its own designated parking and the lawn area for the sale, if you could put up a tent or 2 big tents out there. You could potentially leave that as its own event for the day for Saturday. The sale comes in, there's a bar there. If you'd have to have food, but it could be its own separate event out there for the sale. Ideally, to keep people there, if we could live stream the rodeo from the rodeo to a tent over there, so those people come in could watch the sale and stay in that area, whatever that 250 is. It would increase possibly your attendance to a 4-H and FFA sale if you're within the 250 there, and that would be its own event. And that's what I understood it from the conversation, the call we had with the net the other night at our Roundup meeting, was it's basically 250 spectators per event. But if the 4-H and FFA sale is its own event out on the lawn with its own parking, its own restrooms, that could be its own event. But if you could feed the rodeo on the TVs within that tent where people over there could stay, have the sale, stay in that tent in that area and watch the rodeo from there afterwards.
That'd be great.
It would increase your people that maybe would attend the sale and just stay down there, and it would increase the amount of people that would get to watch the rodeo. It's different, obviously, but
So, my only question with that, being a member of the sale committee, is liability, right? We're putting on the auction, and if you guys if there's alcohol involved, you know, we're all, if you read our bylaws, we're all personally liable. Every one of us.
Liability would fall under Carol's license under the alcohol stuff.
even under that, yeah.
Even under the livestock auction, even though it's hosted by the livestock auction.
Same as like Roundup's hosted by Roundup, but actually the Fair Board, because we're,
So you
part
would
of
be
the Fair
able to
Board.
separate that out if the auction's going on in Carol's tent, it would be
It
different.
wouldn't be, Carol's there, it's under his license, he's serving, he takes the liability
It
on
takes
his
100%
insurance.
liability.
Same as if you brought him in for a wedding on your place, he would be taking the liability away from you.
So
I like that idea.
you probably know how Prineville sets up, because they have their open air stage there, and then they just use, is it that Little League orange square rickety fencing? Well, and so that's what they do. They have this beer wagon right there, and they have that rickety fencing just everywhere, and then all the kids and everything get to be all here, and then this is the secure area for the beer garden.
Right.
Which would be easy to do on the front lawn. I mean,
Right.
to separate the
I think
areas.
between all the ranches around here, we could come up with a whole lot of panels if we really wanted to
You
do
can move that
that.
snow fencing over in Klamath, I mean, it's
There
a
you go.
common,
That's
common
a good
deal
idea.
on contracting sites.
And really, it doesn't
And
have
that's
to be
our
all day.
idea between the Neil
Yeah.
Flynn and the main arena. That's how we would segregate those out to 2 different events.
Yeah.
Would be to put that snow fencing up.
Yeah.
Which the Neil
And really,
Flynn
it's
was
a pop-up
essentially just
tent.
the spectator, or the contestants, because we really don't ever have spectators. We don't have room for spectators.
You don't have anywhere to park.
We just have to designate that that's for the Neil Flynn.
So there's a lot of logistics to figure out, but our citizens need to know while we're planning at this point. So basically a press release of all this together. This is the plans, this is the way we're looking at it. Everybody's wanting to know, try to get the facts out there instead of the Facebook stuff. Use Facebook, but I mean, Facebook has all the answers by a certain number of people all the time. But I would like to tonight be able to sort of get that press release and all of us agree to what that press release should have in there. Fair Board, Roundup Association, 4-H, FFA, Cell Committee,
Desert Cruisers.
Desert Cruisers, yeah, everybody. And so we have a press release that can go to the Lake County Examiner. And that is what we all jointly, where we're at. I think our citizens and everybody need that. So, who writes good press releases?
Oh, darn. Hey.
Whoa,
What are you doing
whoa.
back here?
You have the official press.
I'm looking at Stacy.
I gotta go home, guys. And now, hang on. I may be in my 20s, but I don't even have a social media account, so this is not coming on me.
No, this is hard written to the Examiner.
Yeah, I can't do that.
somebody's gotta capture and put it in writing that
Well, if you
Everyone.
give me bullet points, the actual things that need to be in there, I can type up something and get it to them. That can't be changed a whole bunch.
I
Just
think that
saying.
we should start,
Yeah,
This is Jamie on the phone. I'm wondering if each organization could provide the actual bullet points to either one central
We're
location,
not
so
gonna
it's
get
coming
it that
from
fast.
utilizing their words within that press release.
Yeah.
well, except for it needs to be
Tonight?
tonight because the paper gets done tomorrow.
Okay, well, I think we got computers close enough, we could probably do that tonight and email it to you.
Okay, that sounds awesome.
I think that we should start on the positive
Yeah.
of what is gonna carry on. Start with the roundup,
Okay, so there will be a roundup
Neil Flynn Memorial
Thursday
Roping.
through, okay,
We're planning on a 3-day event.
Yeah, that's huge.
okay.
time.
Joseph had some stuff typed up, kind of highlight it.
Yeah, there's a guy who knows
Okay.
his social media. Where's Joe at?
Keith down here,
Oh, I meant just.
now I'm not very tech savvy on stuff like that, but I think if we could go forward with this is what we're intending to do, as long as the governor doesn't change your plan, sale on Saturday as far as the sale committee. I mean, we don't have to give all the logistics, as long as we have a date, it's a video sale, and keep it simple.
Virtual video,
In
so
person.
Let's just go
Live
video.
video.
You don't even have
Let's
to
just
say
go
virtual,
just
video sale means
Video
that.
sale.
And everybody will get that.
We were going all of that for the confusion for different people last week.
you guys give it to Ronnie and she'll put
Yeah.
it there.
So video sale on Saturday at 1 still? Or are you working out times?
Video sale on Saturday.
It's
Let's
gonna
just-
be
let's not
live
set a
people there,
time
so
yet.
you gotta. Yeah.
And the roundup day,
No.
times are all gonna be to be announced.
Okay,
Nothing is set in stone. We're working through it all.
I think on all of it, times to
Yeah.
be announced.
Right.
Yeah, for the sale.
And maybe don't even mention 3 days until we know that, until it's decided upon for sure.
Yeah.
so you'll have the Neil Flynn roping and 3 days of rodeo.
Well,
There'll be
No.
a
There'll be a rodeo.
A rodeo.
just and rodeo.
Okay,
PRCA.
Horse show Thursday,
okay,
ranch rodeo Friday.
and a PRCA
And
rodeo.
And PRCA rodeo.
Okay.
No concert.
Okay, yep, got the no concert, got the no derby.
We will have a rewrite room, but it will, I'm just trying to see how Joseph said that. The footprint will be different or something.
Right,
I mean, but we're gonna have a rewrite room of some form.
so can I say limited
Limited to,
Rodeo.
limited to rodeo attendance?
No, because we don't know that yet either. I would just say a rewrite room in some fashion.
And the rodeo attendance will be limited to 250 people per event, right?
For performance.
Per performance.
Yeah.
We will have children's riding events at the rodeo, same as normal. Goats, speed barrels.
I think you sell your tickets lottery way, highest bidder.
Let's have the 4-H sale on Friday and sell rodeo tickets out.
Right?
Are you gonna
So,
pay for the
maybe
extra
Joe-
time
Yeah,
though?
my grandkids are gonna be
You
there.
will? Okay.
Tickets are gonna go high.
So I can put program schedule to be announced, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
And probably tickets to be announced too. I don't think you announced when they're on sale yet.
for the
Rodeo.
rodeo.
Yeah, everything's gonna be, and we're gonna be working
Everything's
close
to
with
be
the paper to get this out and Facebook.
Okay.
Everything
My
TBD.
family takes 10% of the tickets. How do I get in the front list to get tickets to your rodeo?
Sales on sale.
You show up to the auction.
Well, that's right, you may be able to,
So we have a lot to figure out. What do we do with box seats that were in the same families for years? And,
So no
We will
you know, there's,
food vendors.
whenever they go for sale, I know we want some.
very limited food vendors.
And no derby, got that.
Can you email that to me before it goes out so we can prove it?
Sure.
And if it
Yeah,
happens at
tonight,
midnight
right?
tonight, that's fine.
Okay,
You, it's what I wanted to do.
we know it's what you
Okay.
wanted to do, but we also know that
I know,
Kevin's
yeah.
gotta get it ready
Yeah.
for the paper
No, I
tomorrow.
will get it.
Yeah, this will be fun.
And then, Jamie's gonna email you some stuff too, right, Jamie?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be emailing something, this is Genie.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
you know, there was another thought I just had. If it's gonna conflict possibly with rodeo times, maybe move the sale up to an earlier time on Saturday.
Yeah, we sure can.
It's been at 1:00 because
Shows.
show
Shows.
in the morning.
Yeah, because,
But
yeah. and it
You
run-
might wanna
yeah,
do it while
could
it's
do it
cooler in the morning for
10
the people
o'clock.
that are.
We can do it any,
Depending on what time the rodeo, you might want to do that after the rodeo.
Once we decide on our
You never do that.
times,
If you're having a
I'll let you
target
know.
number.
yeah, we
Yeah,
can,
we'll just try and work with
coordinate it.
these guys and
Yep.
see how we can get that figured
You
out.
guys
But we have a
will-
lot more
And let me know
flexibility.
You
just so I
guys will
have
figure it
work out the vendors' contracts.
On your
For
vendors
time.
though, I mean, I'd figure maybe a couple of them for 5 days, cause we have Thursday
Right.
with the horse
Right.
show. And there hasn't been a lot of shows, so I could see
Right.
the entries being up pretty good for it.
Masonry
Yeah.
is huge.
Was it?
now are they gonna have to stay behind us on the north side of the track and south?
Yeah, we're gonna have to,
Yeah, for the
from the
horse show,
understanding, yeah, we're gonna have to do that. Ranch rodeo, you know, where before it was always open seating, we'll charge for ranch rodeo. Just trying to recoup some of our,
Should I put that in
Ticket
there?
sales,
Ranch
no.
rodeo will be charged.
No.
No.
No, I
We'll
wouldn't,
surprise
I wouldn't
them.
make people mad yet.
Okay.
no.
Oh, they're gonna be
We're
mad
trying to bring out
already.
the positive, right?
Okay, okay, got it.
The press and the video is going.
If people watch the entire, hour?
Okay.
Plus?
They can
already
find,
know
they can
that.
find out through that.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, is there anybody else have anything to help us out with?
I guess we didn't really discuss on the Fair Board side, or maybe they don't know, we never discussed the open exhibits and that stuff that we
We can't,
canceled.
we
that.
mentioned that already.
So,
There will be no fair as
Right.
far
Right.
as our side.
I can't bake a pie and bring it to fair
class
this year.
fair exhibits will be.
I will eat the pie still.
The logistics are just too crazy to try to work it out for inside the buildings and things.
Yeah.
And with 4-H and FFA not there, that really cuts our number of livestock down that would be shown, so. Okay.
So this is Trent with the Desert Cruisers. You know, if you're gonna put something in the paper, I'd emphasize, you know, that the decision to cancel did not come very easy. We really wanted to
Right.
try to do it, but again, you know, it's a Lake County event. We want all of Lake County to be able to attend, and didn't feel it was fair to limit our fans down to 250 people.
Right.
And we appreciate the meetings. This was the first year we've actually did the joint meetings with everyone. So, you know, hopefully we'll be back bigger and better next year and
Yeah, really.
work with you again.
We hope so too.
Thanks, Trent.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
I just got a text message actually from Danae on the phone, but she was wondering if there's way for Fair Board to capitalize on this too with your vendors who are coming in. If there's, because there's going to be a lot of different open times, say especially on like Sunday and Monday, where rodeo isn't happening, anything else isn't happening. Could you open it up for those, just for those vendors, for the people in the community who want fry bread or something, just
Oh,
to
gotcha. Yeah.
count down those
Yeah.
numbers. Yeah, just to open it up for the community who just
Yeah.
wants to come in for some fair food.
That's
Because it's, yeah,
Well, that's
So,
where I was
yeah.
trying to think of the curbside or something, because of, we open up to the community, which I think is an awesome idea. We've got to be able to regulate to keep 250 or
Right.
less in there. You know, I don't know that we, unless we contract it out with security. But I think.
right. But on those days that
I
you
think
only
it's a-
have one or two events going on.
I
might
think
be
that's a
something.
great idea, and I think there's gonna be a
Thanks,
lot of people, that want to do that.
Danae, don't be shy. You can actually ask them.
You don't have to text Stacy.
Stacy's really shy.
Yeah, I'm real shy, guys.
So when we
Okay.
find out the times of events and things, and
Or just even the start and ending, I don't necessarily need everything in between.
Yeah.
But the start and the ending to find out about the bathrooms, the trash and the vendors.
The bad part is a lot of the ending times,
Yeah.
starting, I can tell you. We
Oh.
don't know our contestant numbers, and we
Yeah.
won't know until really 10 days, 2 weeks before.
Okay,
And so we don't know how much overflow we're gonna have in times.
okay.
and,
That's gonna be tough.
and I
So
believe on
a
our,
good estimate.
on our
Correct.
press release, you have to put in there
Looking into that one.
contingent
the British
upon,
Chamber.
changes as the orders could come down or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it's, we can
Governor's
do this.
whims. Oh, I mean,
No,
I didn't mean.
you don't wanna go there.
We can do all this work and it gets jerked out the last.
Yeah,
minute.
if we put out the press release and we don't have sort of a disclaimer in there that says contingent upon, whatever.
Changes in guidelines.
Changes in
Changes in
guidelines, restrictions.
You know, because of it, everything could change quite a bit. It sounds like the sales got it, that's done, you already know. you
It's just the
can make that
logistics,
happen.
of working it out, yeah.
Yeah, but-
We voted to have it that way.
But for the rodeo, it,
Is North Lake
Change
gonna be included?
Change overnight.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I've heard that they were gonna branch off this year
I
and
heard
so
that.
have
Most
their
of their
own
kids have
sale.
already sold, that's what Chad told me.
Mhm.
But the ones
For
that,
FFA, I don't know if the 40
yeah,
hours.
FFA.
Okay.
and I think
Joe's,
a lot of the sheep sold.
Joe, are you still on?
Mhm.
Or Clayton?
I'm still here.
Do you think North Lake, the kids who haven't sold private already, you think they'll still come down for the sale, will still participate without actually being there in the sale?
That, I haven't discussed anything with the pool yet. I think some of those members are, or at least a couple of them are gonna be at the meeting tomorrow night, but I would assume so.
Yeah, I mean, they're
We're
they're
still
all
putting
part
it
of
on as
Yeah.
Lake County.
yeah, we want them
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think we can bring that up tomorrow night and kind of see, but I know there's still gonna be kids that are, and buyers from North Lake as well, along with the pool that would attend.
Mhm.
If that answers the question.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
I think I have what I need.
Does anybody have anything else? Except Ronnie's homework.
Yeah.
You didn't want to go to bed early.
No.
Hi everyone, this is Teresa again.
Yes?
I have to sign out, but I'm really excited about what all you're hearing there. I think this was as good as it could possibly be.
Great.
I agree.
So whatever, like I said, I have to sign back out, but I will stay tuned to see what else I can do, or if we're gonna have a follow-up meeting.
Okay, Teresa, thank you. Okay, well, if nobody's
Okay.
got anything else, I guess we can close the meeting at 7:15.